Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Srida. This is a reading report about the assessment. So the first thing first, what is assessment? Assessment is data collecting and the judgment of those data. And in this case is the learner's knowledge and ability in the language. So there are many purpose of that. The first purpose is the for curriculum. The second purpose is the for uh, communication, and the third purpose is the for accountability. The next is the fundamental issue of the language assessment. The fundamental issue of language assessment is a difference from other assessment. Take example like math assessment. In math, there is 100% right or wrong, but in the language, it's hard to assess that the 100% right or wrong. So, in the language assessment, it's need the understanding between the learners and the testers. So the next is construct. I think construct is related to the basically the English proficiency is to fake, so it's need to specify things to uh, make it more clearer. So the first is the construct of the ability and performance. So basically the performance the ability is the learner's knowledge, while the performance is the learner's output. The second is the purpose of the purpose. The first is in the in specific purpose. The specific purpose is like take for example, when someone take a test in the occupational stuff, or that need a specific type stuff, for example as medical stuff where they use medical terms and that, so it's specific. So the next is general purpose. Purpose is the purpose for the broader has more broader stuff to it. So it's basically the real life communication. So the next is the middle range purpose, I think. So in the mid range, this is not too broad or too specific, it just in the middle. So I think it's like a academic stuff or something. So the next is the perspective and specific purpose. The specific purpose is the basically that the test is for the specific topic only and not used in the real life. For example, in the book example is the CHEM speak, the test CHEM speak. The second is the general test. The general test is the test that used in the real life situation. So the next is test method. Test method is basically the procedure of the assessment. So in the language assessment, they not use like usual multiple choices, but they use the method and characteristics to make an assessment to influence the test. So the characteristic for what I know is there is five. The first is a setting. The setting is the physical context of the test, and the second is rubric. Rubric is the instruction, time limit, or the basically the test stuff like scoring method or stuff like that. And the next is the input. The input is the stuff that presented to the learners, I think. And the next is output. Output is the what learners produce in the testing. So, and the last is the relationship between the input and output. So, the next is validation. There are two validation: is a modern validation and traditional validation. Traditional validation are there are three of them, like content validation, criteria validation, and construct validation. While the modern validation is just use the sources that basically from the quantitative or the qualitative method. So the next is the test analysis. Test analysis is basically that analysis of the test. So there are two of them. The first is correctional analysis, and uh, the second is item difficulty. So item difficulty is basically the analysis of the difficulty of the test itself. So it uses math, and I don't understand about that. And the second is correctional analysis. It's basically I think it's about the relationship of the scores maybe. So the next is uh, the next is wash wash washback. Washback is basically the impact of the test to the teacher and the learners. So there are positive and negative washback. The positive washback is basically the when well test is given to the learners, so there are possibility that the learners will uh, acquire the skill, the real life skills that language skill that they will need. While the negative part of it is because of the test, the lecturer is more focused about the teaching of the test, not teaching for the skills. So the next is alternative assessment. There are three alternative assessment that I know. The first is observation. Observation is basically what lecturers do in the class. And the second is proto no. The second is uh, portfolio assessment. Portfolio assessment is the lecturers analyze the works that learners made. And the last is self-assessment. Self-assessment is when the learners self-assessing themselves. And yeah, in alternative assessment, there are advantage and disadvantage. The advantage of that is the learners have more motivation. And the second is the anxiety of the learners will not too much, while the disadvantage of it is the validation issue and the um, because of the alternative assessment, some of the raters will have disagreement. So the last is output based assessment. Output based assessment is basically the assessment that focus on the output of the learners made, so like written stuff or the speaking stuff. So that's it, I think. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.